Good, aren't they? Hey.
Come on, sharing is caring. Oh. Come on.
They've made a return. the real eat real lentil chips. Oh, so good.
Found a packet after last week's disaster of not having any.
Disaster.
I've got them back.
But along with lentil chips, Alan's hummingbird from California. Look at that little youngster in the nest, hanging there on the fairy lights. What else? What a start in life!
It's cute, isn't it? I'd quite like to be nestled in that nest.
Well,
It looks quite cozy.
Yeah, it's a bit pooey around the outside now, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a little bit. Maybe at the beginning, but I don't know.
That nest is made of plant fibres, okay, and then it's covered in a web of spiders' webs.
Spiders' webs.
To bind it all together. So they lay 2 eggs in there, incubate them for a couple of weeks.
Yep.
And then the young, which you can see one there, look at this little pink,
one just
orangey,
behind as well.
orangey little big gate.
Having a bit of a move around. The adults have been coming just before we went live. We could actually see an adult coming back to give a bit of a feed. Look at that.
See how stretchy the nest is as they grow. It's just like a long-tailed tit's nest, isn't it? You know, our long-tailed tits.
Oh, look. A little bit of preening. How adorable is that? Hummingbirds are the most amazing birds in the world, aren't they? I mean, so tiny. They're not often much bigger than 2 grams in weight.
You know, these ones are about that long, about 3.5, 4 inches long.
Tiny.
Yeah.
They've got, for their body size, hummingbirds have the highest metabolic rate of any kind of bird. They're going at such a pace, you know, when they're hovering and they're feeding on that kind of nectar-rich sugars. And they're going up and down. Their heartbeats, right? Guess their average heartbeat a minute. How many heartbeats in a minute?
Heartbeats a minute, okay.
Yeah, for our average hummingbird.
Average?
Yeah.
200.
No. Way off. 1,260.
Oh.
1,260 heartbeats per minute. 250 breaths per minute, even at rest.
That happens to me when I see a male sparrowhawk come through the garden.
Yeah, I've seen it happen on a number of occasions. It's not something you want to witness.
I hyper-metabolize. But we're just eating crisps and...
You've got your mouth full.
Sorry, I'm doing what my mother told me I should never do, speak with my mouth full. Because we're waiting for an adult hummingbird to come in and feed these youngsters. I have to say, at this time, of course, you talk about meeting nectar.
Yeah.
They would be catching insects to feed these young protein as well.
Good to get that balance.
And they sort of fly catch. They fly up, grab a little insect, go back to the same perch, do the same thing again. Quite a splendid species, this one. Males and females are separate. Guess what? The males are brighter coloured. Females and the juveniles are the same. They have a little sort of primarily brown with a bit of green on them. But the key thing is, before they make this little nest, they do this remarkable display.
Yes, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Unusual for hummingbirds.
They fly up, about 100 feet in the air. Oh, okay, all right.
I'm taking these away now. We'll get back to them in a minute.
Wait, they fly up 100 feet in the air.
They fly up about 100 feet in the air, in case you can't understand what I was just saying.
And then they dive down, which is pretty spectacular for a tiny little hummingbird. They're also really bolshy. They chase. Well, it's a bit of a glitch there.
A bit of a glitch, sorry, technical hiccup, but hopefully we're back and you're all seeing.
I just wanted a couple more crisps. That's all it was, really. That's all it was, really. Anyway, look, we'll wait to see if the hummingbirds come in. Primarily the female actually looks after them. Certainly when they fledge, the female looks after them for a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks after they've fledged. Too young in that nest.
They're lovely, really nice.
I wonder what happens if do the lights still come on? Do you think?
No, I mean they look quite old, rusty lights, don't they?
Do they?
They do, yeah.
Oh,
they look like they've been out hanging there for some time, don't they?
It's a bit, as you imagine hatching in that nest, it'd be a bit like Vegas, wouldn't it? I know that's not California, it's Nevada, but nevertheless, it would be a bit
Vegas
like
hummingbirds.
Vegas.
I mean, it might be that they've nested there because obviously those lights would be warm. So perhaps, they could be providing the youngsters a bit of extra warmth if they do come on, perhaps.
Yeah,
tiny. I don't know. Maybe that's a good reason to leave your Christmas lights up, isn't it? Get a few
Listen,
birds
we
nest.
keep on, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen at the moment.
But we've got lots of people saying hello. Lots of people joining in from all over the world again. So thank you very much for spending your Sunday evening with us. We've got Anne from Orkney, Robbie, Staffordshire. We've got Duncan from Wiltshire, Lorna in Glasgow. We've got Kate McCrae. We've got an Anita from Australia. Quite literally the other end of the world. Looks lovely over there at the moment. It really does in Australia. Yeah.
I've been following the Australian
Everyone's
weather.
looks like they're having a nice-ish time under the circumstances.
Yeah,
Out on the beaches.
they've dealt with the situation quite well, haven't they?
Hope you're enjoying the lovely sunshine.
I see the Prime Minister had his inoculation this week.
Yeah.
To encourage everyone else to do it.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's good. We're getting there, slowly but surely. We're getting there. Shane from Dublin, Kate, Barcelona. We've got Elsu from Maryland. We've got Camilla from Cheshire. And Jenny, my pronunciation is really awful.
Oh, no.
I'm very sorry.
Let me have a look.
Eskdalemuir in Langham.
That is Eskdalemuir.
Eskdalemuir. Oh, good.
Yeah.
See, I'm dyslexic, you see, so I say everything wrong all the time. So I can never be too sure. But I'm glad I got that one.
It's not the only reason you say everything wrong. Eskdalemuir was right.
But it's once
you know what? Eskdalemuir was must have been forested in the 1950s, and they did a long-term study of kestrels and short-eared owls there, which was published in the 70s.
Oh yeah.
I remember reading the paper in Bird Study magazine, something to do with kestrels and short-eared owls in there, and the way that once they forested the area, all of the small trees brought in small birds, and for that brief period before it became a horrible closed canopy of non-native conifers, it was highly productive for short-eared owls. I remember that. Eskdalemuir.
Pure memory.
That's
quite cool.
That was
and
about
of course, Langham's quite a cool area.
1974-5, I think. Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, who have we got coming up this week? Got
The wonderful Emma Mitchell.
Who's going to be joining us soon.
That's spring.
Which is great. We've got a great new film from Matt Moran. Remember, Matt Moran's been providing us with films throughout the course of our broadcast about foxes in his part of London. Back in the spring, he was following around his allotment.
Yes. And we've got some amazing. He's an amazing. Like the footage that he got and the photos that he got is the best foxing that I've seen in a very long time.
He's a great photographer.
He's fantastic.
And he's becoming a really great filmmaker too, isn't he? Because he's put together some cracking films. He transfers his eye for stills, which is really good, into really good framing and everything for his films.
So we've got another beautiful film.
But he loves his foxes. Doing a book about foxes as well.
He is.
I'm not sure we're meant to talk about that. I don't know. Anyway, I've talked about it now, so whatever.
You'll not be in trouble.
He's doing a book about foxes as well, which is going to be brilliant because he's got some stunning photographs of urban foxes. He's a great ambassador for urban foxes.
Yes.
That's good. Shall we have a quiz?
Why not? We couldn't do an SIBC without a quiz.
It's tricky though this week. I've decided to be a little bit more mean because
everyone got it last week.
Yeah, everyone's
our great spot with Packham. Everyone was on it, weren't they? So
and then they've got long-tailed duck and everything else. So basically, what I want to do is give you this one.
Sorry, everyone.
Come on now, then. Hey, it's a little bit more tricky this one, isn't it? I can tell you that I picked it up myself. So I found it as a single feather like this. Goodness knows how I found it, because it was extremely well camouflaged when it was lying on the woodland floor. There we are. So it's a small feather. But I was absolutely tickled. Oh, forgive the pun.
Oh dear.
When I found this feather, because I don't know, it's just so beautiful, so delicate.
It's stunning. I love the colour of it. It's kind of like a toffee colour.
Yep.
It's really nice.
Those little bandings on it, so delicate, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
One other top tip whilst we're here, and that is I keep all of my feathers in these little Ziploc envelopes like that. You see, it's got a little Ziploc here, so you can zip and lock it. And I do that because if there's one thing that moths like eating in your natural history collections, it's feathers. The first thing to go if moths get into your box, right, are the feathers.
Well, and your kind of retro punk jumpers, they also like nibbling those.
Don't mention that, because honestly, we've had the mouse saga. We can't get into the moth saga. But anyway, but all I'd say is, it's worth getting just a couple of these little bags if you're going to collect feathers, and keeping your feathers in them, because if you put them in a paper envelope, you put them in a drawer, you put them in a box, I will be guaranteed to tell you that you will lose them. At some point, moths will get in and munch your feathers. It's soul destroying, having your feathers munched by a moth. So the Ziploc bag, and in some of my Ziploc bags, which are quite big ones, so I've got lots of feathers, I put in a little bit of, moth repellent.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why they smell quite a bit.
They do smell.
Anyway, there we are. See if you know what that feather is.
Yeah.
It made me feel so good when I found it. Another good feel good feeling this week. Several actually. Yeah, hazel catkins, sun behind them, dripping with rain, looking like lots of little streaks in the woodland.
Nice.
That was pretty good. I saw my first primrose this week.
That sounds. You know, loads of people have been seeing signs of spring around. You know, there's been daffodils. Look, here we are. This is primrose.
There it is. There's that primrose.
It's nice,
one primrose at the bottom of a ditch. And it's already out. Look at that.
Spring is springing slightly.
Waiting for a bee fly to come along.
It's not
Stick
long,
its long
is it?
proboscis in there.
Yeah.
I would.
Look at this. This was taken by Emma.
Emma sent this,
Yeah.
Blossom out there. Look, looks like fruit tree blossom to me of some kind.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, fantastic.
Little snippets coming through.
Anyway, look, without further ado, should we join, see if Emma's ready to join us?
I think we best.
Emma, are you around and about?
Hello. Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Oh, middling, I would say, but I think we all are, aren't we? None of us are exactly on our top form. One thing that's just cheered me up, though, just before we came on air, talking about signs of spring, my garden blackbird, I always feel a bit guilty because I anthropomorphize him a bit. His name's Steve. But then I think of Cy the stickleback, or was it spineless Cy? So I don't
Spineless Cy.
Yeah.
Springwatch did it. Anyway, this you can see there, I've done this little film, and it's my phone. Oopsie. That is just the dusk there. Can you see that? There we go, just dusk. And I recorded him because he started, I had this door open, the window open here, and he started his very first song, like proper sort of territory song of 2021. I thought you might want to hear it. Okay, hold on. Here we go. I'll put the volume up. So this is going to be a bit tinny, but I'm hopefully you can hear him. Ready? Oh, it would help if I, here we go. Can you hear him?
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really, he's got a very distinctive song, and that, well, it's one of the sounds that was in the National Trust study a couple of years ago. You're probably very familiar with it, but it's one of the things I sort of talked about back last year in SIBC. So birdsong is one of the natural sounds that has been shown to alleviate anxiety. So when I hear Steve tweeting, it's very good. I was almost tearful actually, because it's been a long winter.
Yeah, it sure has. It really has been. But it's really beautiful to hear those birds starting to sing again. And I think that's something that a lot
Missel
of people
thrushes have been going down here.
Yeah.
Actually, great tits have been doing their proper calls, all of those sorts of things. So pretty much in the last week to 10 days, great spot woodpeckers have been drumming regularly now, though not just once or twice, but regularly. So those signs of spring are all springing up around us, aren't they?
Definitely, and it's uplifting. We're getting more daylight as well, which of course will mean more serotonin if you're out there for a bit longer. So yeah, what I was going to chat about signs of spring. So what we saw there, that photo that you showed, that was cherry plum blossom, as you say, fruit, but it's the very first blossom that comes out in most parts of the UK. It's the earliest, and there's 2 trees near here that come out particularly early, and that's one of them there. And I don't know, it's just a little ceremony for me to go and kind of stalk these trees and sort of lurk near them, which might seem odd because there's quite busy roads. I'm just sort of standing there in a bush urging these buds to open. So they did this week, which was very lovely.
It's fantastic stuff, isn't it?
I like that image, Emma, of you kind of stood in a bush, just like not wanting to be spotted by the tree in case you scare the blossoms back in again. You scare those buds back in.
What, trying to do this to the buds? Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Tickle the buds to come out.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to tell us about a new study of cortisol levels that you've been looking into.
That's right. Yes. So I'm wanting to encourage everybody who, I'm sure most people who watch the SIBC probably hang out food for the birds in some form or another. But I wanted to just sort of validate how much pleasure people have got from it since lockdown began, back in March. I think a lot of people have perhaps fed their birds more, or perhaps put feeders out for the first time and seemingly gained sort of improved mental health and felt a bit better. And there was a new study back in September of 2020, so incredibly recent, by the University of Leeds. Now, it wasn't blue tits and blackbirds, it was actually quokkas. And so what they did, they got, I know, adorable, arguably the most adorable marsupial in the world. Like
it's one of those animals, isn't it? You just want to bop on the nose. You just want to go boop, bop it on the nose.
I know. Sometimes people just post a picture of a quokka on their Twitter feed and it goes viral because they're very, very cute. They got students from the University of Leeds who were literally just about to go into their exams, I think either last summer or the summer before. And what they did, they showed them sort of an hour or so before their exam began, half an hour of a montage of stills and video of quokkas gambling, preening each other, just being absolutely exemplary, adorable. And the control group of students, I think they were shown, I don't know, the 10 o'clock news or something, I've no idea. But hard to know what the control would be for a quokka. I don't know, maybe it would be a tree slug, Chris, who knows? Anyway, those students who were shown the half hour of quokkas, they had significantly lower levels of blood pressure and pulse rate, which are, of course, indicators of anxiety. And verbally, they also sort of, did surveys and showed that they were significantly less anxious than the students who saw, I don't know, Jon Snow or a weird mollusk climbing up a tree. Who knows what the control was? But what I have sort of extrapolated from that is, I think that a blue tit, or particularly a long-tailed tit, and just all garden birds really, are verging on the cuteness of a quokka. And they actually use the word cute, by the way, in this research, which is quite interesting. I've never seen that before. So it's people who, animals that people find really appealing and would use the word cute to describe. So I think most garden birds are gorgeous, even the wood pigeon, who sort of waddles around like a huge, I don't know what he looks like, an enormous rugby ball. But my daughter calls our wood pigeon Jeff. So, there's an appeal there. I believe that watching our birds through the window, and of course you're going to see more if you've hung up a feeder, it's going to have the same effect. So it's going to bring down your anxiety. And lockdown's still going on. Who knows how long the pandemic will last. So that piece of research is really interesting because it can also apply to, of course, Winter Watch, which we've just had, and it's still on the iPlayer. So if people are feeling low, really anxious, just sort of dig around on the iPlayer. There's an awful lot of David Attenborough on there as well. Some beautiful footage. And so we're getting closer to the actual sort of crux of this, which is watching our garden birds through a window. Does it bring down cortisol? Now, I'm about to order a sort of cortisol testing pack, literally in the next day or so. And I'm going to do that experiment. So I'm going to get some rudimentary data because it's just tantalizing. Nobody's actually done that. What they have done in the University of Exeter, they showed, and I've got a bit of a diagram to sort of summarize these three pieces of research. They showed that if you're looking at foliage through your window, whether you're in an urban area or a rural area, that foliage has a significant effect on your mental health just by seeing it. And if there's birds in that foliage, this makes your mental health improve even more, and it can be measured. So literally the effects of birds flitting about in bushes and shrubs can be measured. There we go. So that's the top one.
It's interesting to see that, isn't it? It's seeing birds through the window can help. 30 minutes of cute animals, even if that's virtual, it will help. Seeing something beautiful, flowers, whatever you find beautiful. I mean, it all impacts our mental health, doesn't it? And it's the little things like that we often take for granted and overlook. But it goes to show just how important it is. So it'll be really interesting to see the results of your study at home, Emma.
Yeah, I mean, it could be something that you could join in with at some point. But I'm going to do some preliminary studies with some cortisol tests and see, because I really think that and I've heard it anecdotally on Twitter so many times. People have said they've either got long COVID and they feel absolutely dreadful, but they've hung up their bird feeders and that has kept them going. I wrote about it in my book, The Wild Remedy, how that got me out of really dark depression, just feeding the birds for the first time in years. I hadn't really done it before. And people have also hung it up for their elderly relatives or sent their relatives, feeders and bird food. And it's really cheered them in a very lonely, terrifying lockdown. So this is not only beneficial for the birds, and they're grateful for every peanut at the moment, aren't they? Because they're just sort of gearing up to build nests for the breeding season. But it benefits humans as well, and I think it's more significant than we realise.
Emma, can we have your graph back up? Because I've got an idea. I just want to run it past you. On your, not graph, your diagram, sorry. On your diagram there at the bottom, you've got seeing something beautiful, and you've offered an alternative, which is Van Gogh's Sunflowers, or the J. I'm hugely into art, and when I look at paintings, I get really into them, into sort of almost like, like you said, you were standing in the bushes waiting for your blossom to appear.
Yeah.
Well, I look at art, whether I'm looking at it in a book or if I'm fortunate to be in a gallery under more normal times, I can really immerse myself in the picture. My mother sort of taught me to do it when I was a kid, almost like a form of meditation. And she said, you've got to go into the picture. You've got to physically transport yourself into that picture. And I think, well, I've always thought that one of the reasons why that brings me so much pleasure is because when I do that, I have to concentrate so hard and think about it so much that I exclude the rest of the world. And my world shrinks to just that picture and what I'm thinking about it and what I'm imagining it, or if I'm thinking about the artist or the color or the structure of it or why and when it was painting, all of those things that sort of riot through my mind when I'm doing that take up so much space that the rest of the world around me, the gallery, the people, everything outside just vanishes, just goes. So do you think sometimes when people are looking at birds in the same way, listening to their song, it's their concentration, that level of intensity and immersion, which also adds to the benefit?
I really do. The piece of research on the bottom is actually people were taken into an art gallery and were told to pick out like a painting that really appealed to them, stand and literally sort of gaze at it for a while, and they and it's not that often that this happens, but they actually measure dopamine, and it's quite tricky to do, in their brains, in their bloodstream before and after. And their dopamine increased, and of course that's a positive neurotransmitter that gives you elation, and sort of you get it actually if you have some chips. I think I mentioned this in my autumn watch film. If you eat something delicious, or if, when you're in love as well, you get dopamine. But what you mentioned, Chris, and I think you get a burst of dopamine when you see a garden bird. There's no doubt I feel just elated and excited. But what you described, Chris, is more like the mental state called flow, which I'm sure you've heard of, which you can get into when you're really concentrating on something. So I'm sure you get it when you watch birds either with your binoculars out in the field or through your window. You get it definitely when you're crafting or doing something creative. It's when, as you described, you're so focused on what you're doing that the rest of the world is sort of dialed down or muffled or sort of disappears. And that mental state has been studied, needs more study, but what happens is your sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight sort of part of your nervous system, is dialed down. It really does become less active. And the parasympathetic, which is rest, digest, and relaxation, becomes more active. And so, as you described, you sort of immerse yourself in embroidery, or in my case, sort of jewelry making or drawing, or in your case, sort of literally, I feel like that too. Sometimes certain works of art, you just feel like you're sort of falling into it and just absorbing the colours, etc. And I think if you really watch intensely your garden birds, you'll be able to achieve that mental state, and it's incredibly beneficial. It's something that we should be doing more of, really, because there are certain things that will encourage it, and it really does have a long-term effect. If we're giving ourselves doses of this flow state of our brain every day, even 10 or 15 minutes, it can have a long-term benefit.
Let's give ourselves a dose now. I think we've got a clip of some long-tailed tits. We could immerse ourselves in them for 30 seconds or so.
Okay. Wow, look at that craftsmanship.
Nest building. See how stretchy it is, just like the hummingbird's nest.
Huge, isn't it? I mean, I'm using the C word then again, but you can't not for a long tit, can you? I mean, I love how it's kind of, its tail feathers poke out still.
My favourite is when they peep out of the hole. When things peep out, it's always good, isn't it?
Peeping. We like a peeper.
Look at that, and of course they take
all that nest
all
material.
the feathers.
Going in there.
Look at that feather going in.
Oh, I bet it's nice and toasty in there.
That is a piece of engineering, isn't it? That net.
A triumph of engineering.
Yeah, so actually, look, we've got the photo there of all the components of that long-tailed tit's nest dissected out. That's a single nest, and there are thousands of components. So it's a bit like the hummingbird nest, which you were talking about earlier. They use spider's webs, don't they? Spider's thread, which is sort of stretchy, and it allows the beautiful ball of lichen to expand as the babies grow. But immense numbers of individual components have been gathered. I mean, it's mind-boggling, isn't it?
Lovely. Do you know what? I'd never seen that. That's from the Hunterian Museum. I'd never seen that before. God, I'd love to have done that.
It's amazing, isn't it?
That would have been a job for a Sunday, wouldn't it?
I know, to go
Get
out.
a long
You'd love
tail.
to do that.
That's my sort of project.
You'd go into that flow state of mind with the whole...
I would. I'd be right into the flow if I'd got a long-tailed tit's nest and started to dissect it and count all of the individual components. That's what a simple idea, and yet it says so much about the industrious capabilities of those birds.
Because you'd never think, when it's all compact and small, you'd never think that they were able to get thousands and thousands of tiny pieces of lichen, of moss, of other feathers,
all the feathers. Do you see that? Hundreds of feathers from pheasants, starlings.
I wonder what's in this hummingbird one, because I mean it's tiny, it's very, very small, but I bet if you unpacked that, if you could count the number of spider web, like the number of individual spiders that contributed towards that nest, impossible. I know.
Well, that hummingbird, I did a bit of reading a week or two ago about this hummingbird, because I've been tweeting about it because of the research from the University of Leeds. You know, watching something adorable can improve your mental health. I'm always tweeting about what can make you feel less anxious. But I read about the engineering of that nest, and it's that little bird, I think it's primarily a female, has essentially made cotton wool by, as you mentioned earlier, gathering fibres from certain seed heads, sort of thistledown type fibres and certain flowers, but making really a ball of cotton wool. And then she molds it a bit like a potter does, you know, a lump of clay. She molds it with her body to make that cup. And then she, as you say, she sort of stitches it with spider's webs, and then she wraps it in grasses as well to keep the shape. So little grass fronds. It's kind of mind-boggling, isn't it? So there's parallels though. The use of spider's webs and the use of plant materials, and it's how long would that have taken to evolve? So many hummingbirds and long-tailed tit sort of ancestors would have messed it up, used completely the wrong things, been predated, and then you've got this incredible Darwinian craft. It's craft, isn't it? It's got such parallels with the things that give me flow, and I'm wondering if it gives the birds a bit of relaxation as well.
What I like though, Emma, is being humbled by such simple things as those nests, because what you and I know is that in all of our lifetimes, given all of our capabilities and endeavours, we could never make one of those nests.
You tried?
What?
Making a nest?
Yeah.
Have you? I didn't think I've given that a go.
When I was a kid, I used to love trying to make nests out of my dad would cut the grass, and I'd get that, and I'd get twigs and put it around it, and then it would just fall apart. I mean, imagine if I said to you, go out and find all of those spiders' webs, collect them, carry them without breaking them, and then use them to stick something together.
It's tricky.
Come on.
It's tricky. I mean, you could, right, make it a bit easier on yourself. Use human-sized materials. So instead of using spiders' webs, you could use strawberry shoelaces. You could get make an artificial one out of because strawberry shoelaces are quite. And then you can get maybe cotton candy.
I know what you mean now.
The shoelaces.
I know what you mean.
And then
those licorice type things.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're quite stretchy.
Exactly, they're stretchy, they're sugary and sticky, and then you can try making a human size. I mean, it would have to be a human size nest egg, because if you've got to obviously do it to scale, so you'd have to mold it with your body and sit in it like this.
Hey, listen. I just think you've come up with a spring watch item. I think you can make your own nest.
I'll be pitching it tomorrow.
Out of candies.
It'd be good though, because they are stretchy, and we all have I've got a little bit of pandemic pudding padding going on here, so it
tell me about
banned as I had too many crisps and bits of cake to
Emma, listen.
Yes.
Look,
yes.
They're very healthy though, aren't they?
Well, not so much. But yeah, there we go. That'll be our producers, if you're watching.
Yeah, there we are. Now, Emma, we're going to wrap up, because not only did we think that actually just watching animals and looking at them and immersing ourselves in them, concentrating intently, anticipating. You've talked about anticipation with your Blossom. All of these things, which are really powerful ways to connect, but also humour sometimes, just laughing at those animals too. Or not at them in an unpleasant, exploitative way, but at parallels they make is another thing which tickles you. And I know that I did a tweet of the day, which you still think is really funny.
Yeah, this came up on Twitter a month or two ago. So I think I'd seen a headline that there was a very large great bustard somewhere near the Newbury roundabout or something, and I just tweeted sort of off on the off chance that if I was going to, I don't know, gather hawthorn berries or look for snail shells, and a 4-foot burly chicken loomed behind a hedge, I would, much as I would be excited, I would run away. But then someone tweeted me, I don't know whether it was Laura Howard, I can't quite remember. Someone said, have you ever listened to Chris's Great Bustard tweet of the day? And I recorded a little clip of it, stuck it on Twitter, and you went semi-viral, Chris, but not necessarily for natural history reasons. Shall we have a listen to it?
Let's have a listen. Let's have a little. This is a great tweet of the day, this one. Go on.
The gruff nasal call of the great bustard had been absent from our farmlands until recently, when the first birds bred in the wild for over 180 years. Weighing around 16 kilograms, the male great bustard is one of the heaviest flying birds in the world, and it's tall too. Stately in appearance, the males stand at 1 metre high. The head and neck are pale blue-grey, the body and tail rufous brown with black bars, and the underparts white. Males in breeding plumage grow large white whiskers and can be heard at this time of year squabbling over territory, in which they will later display to females. Great bustards were most common in Wiltshire and East Anglia, but in the past they were hunted to extinction, and the last known breeding birds in the UK were in 1832. Today, great bustards are back on Salisbury Plain, thanks to the work of the Great Bustard Group. The group aims to establish a self-sustaining population in the UK. The reintroduction programme began using eggs and young birds from southern Russia, where many nests are inadvertently destroyed by approaching tractors. A scheme to rescue the eggs was put in place, and today some of these birds are now nesting in the big sky landscapes of Wiltshire.
See, the thing is, I had to do that with a straight face. Well, I was in a studio recording it, but I had to just blank out the fact that I knew that everyone listening early in the morning on Radio 4 would have been thinking, those birds are flatulent. They're not making that noise to their syrinx.
Was it actually Chris's excessive consumption.
Was it just me?
Yeah, Chris's consumption. Exactly that, Emma. Exactly that.
It's the vegan diet.
Anyway, that
The vegan diet.
Ruminant.
that little clip, well, laughter and sort of comedy has been shown to increase dopamine. So, Chris, you are responsible for, several thousand people's improved mental health that day.
Jolly good. Well, and the bustards, of course, extraordinary birds. And hats off to the bustard group who put those birds back. It's a long, difficult process. They didn't get all the assistance they perhaps should have done. They had to bring those birds all the way from Russia, and they faced all sorts of problems getting access, breeding them. It was all tricky. Anyway, they're out there on Salisbury Plain, flying around, breeding now, and building up in numbers. And as you say, Emma, in the wintertime, they are migratory actually in some parts of their range. They travel great distances. Some of the birds on Salisbury Plain have gone all the way to France, but they certainly move around the south of England quite a lot. So if you ever bump into one, you won't know that you won't miss it. They're absolutely fantastic things. Absolutely.
Might be slightly alarmed.
Emma, thanks ever so much for coming. Just before we go, how's the book going, by the way? Fantastic book, The Wild Remedy. We were singing its praises last year, continue to do so now. I'm afraid my copy's packed in a box in the garage because my bookshelves are packed in a box in the garage as well at the moment. Haven't managed to get them out. But I hope it's going well. Is that the case?
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising because I was quite a very brand new author really when I brought that out. But I think it's brought people some solace during lockdown, and there's now an audiobook version, so that's new. And apparently, sort of lockdown levels of cortisol have stopped people being able to sort of read quite so easily, which sounds weird, but it's actually interfering with our ability to assimilate facts. So there's an audiobook if your brain's knackered and you just want to lie there and listen about long-tailed tits and, bee orchids.
And
sounds
mollusks,
great.
And mollusks.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, I think the thing is, yes, I would still recommend getting hold of the actual book itself because it's actually a beautiful object
stunning.
because of all of your
illustrations and photos
and everything else. It's more than just a book of words, that's for sure. It's a covetous little object, isn't it?
It's beautiful. It's a piece of art within itself.
It is indeed. Anyway.
Yeah, we made it as appealing as possible sort of to look at so that it allowed you to kind of enter flow possibly. That was our theory, just by looking at the photos.
Excellent, Emma. Well, thanks ever so much. We're going to move out of your contribution by having a little mindfulness moment, actually. We've got some nightingale footage, obviously, from last year, something we can look forward to this forthcoming end of April, beginning of May. So we're going to say thank you very much to you. Look after yourself.
Yeah, we'll
see you again soon. If you haven't got Emma's book, I would order it straight away. It's a lovely thing to have.
Lovely.
Yeah, I read it in like one or maybe two goes. I just couldn't stop once I'd started. It was really, really good. One of my books of the year last year.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Definitely. I love that book. Really, really good. All right, so let's
thank you, Emma.
Thanks, Emma. And we're going to go segue straight into the nightingale. Here we go. Sensation. Anyway, nightingale, awesome. Listen, nightingale's got a fantastic reputation for being the greatest songster. Obviously, it's much declined, hanging on in any numbers now in the southeast. Obviously, the Knepp Castle estate is now probably one of the best strongholds for nightingales. That fantastic rewilding project of Isabella Trees and Charlie Bowles at Knepp has got lots of nightingales. They're increasingly. We wrote about that in our book, actually.
Yeah.
But listen, you don't have to have a nightingale. It can be that blackbird. It can be a robin. It can be a song thrush. It could be any of those everyday species.
I love blackbird.
I know blackbird's song is just, it's right up there. I think song thrush is, I say better. I like song thrush more than blackbird.
Do you?
I do. To me, they hold a torch to a nightingale. I mean, I love nightingales, but I don't get them. They're rare. Then there's none around here. But I get
wrens. Wrens they're pretty good. Loud, but also the number of notes that they have.
I know.
They're able to produce.
Squeeze a lot in, don't they?
Yeah, they put a lot of notes. A lot of
so it's just
songs.
you don't need. What I'm saying to everyone here is, you don't need a nightingale.
No.
It'd be nice if
you've got. Lovely if you have
got one.
Beautiful.
But if you don't have one, then basically stick your ear to a song thrush or a blackbird. Anyway,
do that often.
We're on soapbox now, aren't we?
Well, we are. But if you do have any of those mindfulness moments yourself, if you're out and about walking and you see a nice, beautiful scene, perhaps a sunrise or sunset, or there's just some nice mist, nice light, and you're seeing perhaps, I don't know, a body of water, some swans, I don't know, whatever you're seeing in your local walks or even in your garden, send us a clip, just 1 minute of that, and we can use it as one of our mindfulness moments on our broadcast. And you can send them to us with the email address submissions@sibird.club. That's submissions@sibird.club. We'd love to see it. Soapbox. We haven't done an official soapbox for a little while, actually, have we?
I know. Sort of got off the soapbox.
We got off it, but I'm hopping back on the soapbox. I'm firmly hopping back on it because
there's a good choice this week of things.
There's a lot of stuff, isn't there?
Did you see that video that person put on TikTok?
What was that?
Really
I didn't, but I heard about it. It got taken off before.
It did get taken off, did it?
Yeah.
Thank goodness for that, because when I saw it, someone had complained about the animal cruelty involved.
What was it exactly?
Suffice to say, it involved foxes and dogs, and it was one of the most unpleasant things I'd seen for some time. And initially, when complaints were made, TikTok said that it didn't go against their guidelines. Yeah,
it's the worst thing with social media is that a lot of cruelty, a lot of advertisement for illegal wildlife trade is still up on social media, and you can get a snow leopard delivered to your house if you know where to look. Honestly,
what are you going to do with it when it arrives?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? But you can't. It can happen. And
how are you going to package a snow leopard?
Just put it in a box. Anyway,
we're turning it into a joke, but it's not a joke. Social media companies have really got to get to grips with this nonsense with animal cruelty.
Yeah, I did try to look, because I know you tweeted about it, and I did try to look, and it wasn't.
It was already been taken down. Thank goodness for that.
It
was significantly unpleasant.
But yeah, awful stuff. So we need to hold our social media platforms accountable. Get reporting. If that happens.
Australia are doing that. They've taken on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yes.
We like that. Take it on. Yeah, anyway, we're going to get onto a whole different kind of soapbox at the moment, one which Chris and I could probably talk about for quite some time, social media and wildlife abuse. And maybe that's one for another day.
Okay, let's save it for another day. Go on then, you do your...
My soapbox this week is with an organisation which I absolutely love. It's the Whale and Dolphin Conservation Organisation. They're a fantastic body that raise awareness about the plight of cetaceans around UK waters. And they've recently just launched a campaign saying goodbye bycatch. Now, essentially, when fishing vessels are out in the water, you might have seen it in the news recently that a lot of our marine protected areas aren't as protected as we thought they were because of trawlers and really damaging fishing practices that are happening all over the place. It's not being monitored, and it is severely impacting our marine protected areas and the rest of our oceans as well. But also a lot of fishing gear, nets and everything gets chucked overside to float around, and many animals of all different kinds get caught up in those nets, and our cetaceans do too. So they've released this film. It is a little bit, on the edge, so if you're not too comfortable, it's fine, it's good. Everyone should watch it, because the more we know about it, the more then we're enabled and better prepared to protect them. So have a look at this.
Trapped, desperate for air, unable to breathe, thrashing in pain, panic, trying to escape, the net and rope pulling back, surrounding, wrapping, suffocating. Dolphins, porpoises and whales are suffering and dying right now in UK seas to put fish and shellfish on our plates. This is happening in our waters. This young female dolphin was found with deep scrapes across her head on a beach in southwest England. This porpoise was found wrapped in fishing net on a beach in Wales. This humpback whale was found on a Scottish beach with lacerations on his body and fishing rope cutting into his flipper. But it doesn't have to be this way. If governments act now, we can save thousands of these innocent lives. Join us in calling on your government for safer fishing that prevents entanglement and protects the lives of these beautiful, beautiful dolphins, porpoises and whales. Act now. Thank you.
1,000, at least 1,000 different cetaceans get caught up as bycatch because of discarded fishing nets every single year. That's porpoises, that's dolphins, that's even minke whale and humpback. It's happening all over the place around
Not just
our
discarded
shores.
though, is it? I mean, they get caught in them when they're actually fishing them, and then they dump them over the side.
And they dump them. Well, it depends, isn't it? So yeah, they can get caught and then brought up onto a ship and then discarded, or they get
Humpbacks get tangled in the ropes that go down to lobster pots, don't
they do. And I saw the most shocking video on social media recently that was posted by my friend Charlie, or Ocean Magpie, if you know her. She's a great person to follow on Instagram. And she posted a video of a basking shark being caught and being taken up into this large fishing vessel and being hung essentially by its caudal fin, its tail fin, and then it's kind of swinging backwards and forwards, and you can tell this poor thing's still alive. Giant sharks, basking sharks, and then it was just dumped back over the side. Yes, it was put back into the water alive, but a lot of our elasmobranchs, so our sharks and rays, and a lot of our cetaceans, our dolphins, whales and porpoises, are highly sensitive. They don't deal well with stress at all. So even if they do get put back into the water alive, the chances of survival are bare minimum. That basking, everyone's saying, it's fine, that basking shark was put back. It's not fine. That basking shark, it's highly unlikely that it would have survived. And of course, it's a really depressing subject, so which is why I'm really pleading with you for your help. We need you to go to the Whale and Conservation Organisation website.
Whale and Dolphin.
Whale and Dolphin, yes. Whale and Dolphin.
Conservation.
Yes, Conservation
Sorry.
website.
You're getting so upset.
I'm getting so upset. I'm getting. What you can do there is you can put in a couple of your details. It takes 2 seconds, and a email will be sent to your government representative. And we're asking government to change regulations because we've left the EU, whether you're happy about that or not, whatever your personal situation or thoughts might be on that. We do have opportunity to change our environmental regulations. So there's chances there for better protection for sharks, better protection for our marine areas overall, and also could be tighter fishing regulations as well. So we could remove, the numbers of bycatch getting caught and reduce our impact with fishing.
Got to do something.
Please do that.
All it needs is your fingers.
2 seconds. It really doesn't take long, and it will go a really long way.
So please visit the website, and you'll find the link, I'm sure, on one of our platforms. Okay, so there's a chance to do some good for something that's pretty horrendous that's happening. Now let's cheer ourselves up with a bit of Matt Moran.
Let's do that.
So if you don't know, Matt Moran lives in London. He's an exceptional photographer and filmmaker, but his passion is urban wildlife, and particularly foxes. And throughout the course of all of our broadcasts, he's been very kindly allowing us to use some of his films. And he's followed the vixen. He's got one particular vixen that he's been following for some time.
She's lovely.
Lovely animal. In the springtime, they were all amongst the allotments, weren't they?
Yes.
Very lush. And
scurrying
green.
around, having fun. They're playing those fox calves. It was beautiful.
Yeah. He also got a photograph which got, as I recall, it was a finalist, wasn't it, in Wildlife Photographer of the Year, with a picture of foxes, one of which had a large brown rat.
It was a good photo.
Rat. Yeah, it's very good indeed. Anyway, look, let's catch up with Matt and his foxes and see what's been happening in his neighbourhood this winter.
Welcome back to, well, what I call Fox Corner. Gone are the long, warm summer nights, photographing and filming foxes in beautiful backlight on the allotment. It's now freezing cold, early January. I'm in the streets, and this is where they're most active. In fact, daylight barely hits the allotment at this time of year. It's surrounded by buildings, but also I love it. I love coming out in the streets. This is where you really get a true sense of the urban fox. Lots of scrapping over territory, lots of posturing. I just love it. I love the different atmosphere that the nighttime brings, and also huge challenges photographically. And I love the fox's ability just to disappear. It's one of the things that never ceases to fascinate me, the way a fox can, walk in a front garden. You get all set up thinking it's going to come out, or the exit, it can't possibly come any other way, and it doesn't, and you're waiting for long periods, and you think, oh, where's that fox gone? And sure enough, 30 metres down the road, you're seeing it trot off again. It's frustrating, but it does nothing other than put a smile on my face. In other good news, the vixen that's featured throughout all of these films is still around. She is, well, she's looking a little bit tired and old, to be honest. She's got a couple of battle scars on her nose. Could have come from fighting her cubs or, with other rival foxes. I followed her for a long time a few days ago. I watched her work tirelessly, jumping over walls effortlessly, keeping an eye on the dangers. She's just alert the whole time, and it was a real challenge keeping up with her, I tell you. I got some nice footage of her working her environment, and my goodness, without this fox, I'd have half the amount of content that I do. Many people just don't appreciate the wildlife on their doorstep, and we've got it right here. I definitely think the pandemic has put that into sharp focus, people really appreciating the wildlife close to them and learn from it, as well as go out and enjoy it, learn and understand about the natural history that's so close to us. I've seen them using cars as lookout posts, much like cheetahs have been known to do in the Serengeti, and this is why I quite like the idea of, this being an urban safari. Coming out here, I'm on fox safari, looking at these animals every day for free, all the different behaviour, all the different personalities. What a treat and a joy. Well, so with spring just round the corner, I'm hoping to have another productive year. I can't wait to see, well, certainly to see if the vixen's going to have another litter, but just to see who the new characters are. That really is my soap opera. I don't watch EastEnders. I've got it right here on the allotment and in the surrounding streets. All the family dramas to keep me entertained. So thanks again for watching, and I will continue to keep you updated.
Look.
Superb, absolutely superb.
Some beautiful shots there. When it's walking past that house, it's all lit up with the lights.
I know.
Super Christmassy.
I say he's got a really good eye, man. It's absolutely, it's fantastic. But also that behaviour, I love it when they do all that posturing.
Yes.
And they go down, their ears are down, they put their toe around the side.
Exactly.
And, all of that sort of fabulous posturing that they do. It's just come to an end now, really. I haven't heard them as much recently, the foxes. I think they've done their stuff.
No, they've kind of, they've calmed down near me as well,
Tawnies are still going.
Yeah, they go for a little while, weren't they? They're always going on those.
Thank you, Matt, for your latest instalment. It's absolutely fantastic. Do check out Matt Moran online. Check out Matt's books too. Did a fantastic one about Hampstead Heath. We've shown pictures of that before.
Yeah.
He's working on another one, like I say. But do check out his photograph and his website. He's got some interesting projects running. He's brilliant. All the time.
Really nice guy, isn't it? We met him recently.
He's the top bloke.
Well, before, lockdown number 3.
Yeah.
And then,
At some point when we were allowed to meet people.
Say hello outside,
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you very much.
Anyway, my name is Chris. When I first got addicted to eat real lentil chips around Christmas of 2020, frankly, every night I've got to open the packet and eat them all. Yeah. Sometimes I share them with the poodles. They're not here at the moment, so that's why I've got the whole lot to myself. I mean, I don't think I'm addicted.
When was your last packet of lentil chips?
About 3:15.
So you might have a bit of a problem.
I'm joking.
Anyway,
You do the birthdays, I'll eat the crisps.
no, save some for me.
Okay.
All right. Okay. First of all, I'd like to say thank you. A lot of people are saying that they are signing up to that petition on the Whale and Dolphin Conservation Organisation website. So thank you very much for that. Really appreciate it. It is pinned to the top. So if you haven't done so yet, make sure you go to that immediately and contribute to the conservation of our fantastic cetaceans that we have around the UK. Could you like nibbling in my ear? Anyway, it's been a few people's birthdays, and actually there's been one very special birthday this week that we have to mention. It's our very good friend, Dr. Amir Khan.
Fantastic.
If you're watching, Amir, happy birthday to
There
you.
he is. Oh my
Check out his
me.
moves.
Look. Oh no.
He does this thing called Karaoke Fridays, where he's always dancing in his kitchen.
I think he might have been 40.
I think he might have been 40, and he had a dinosaur birthday. Look at that. He's got the moves, isn't he? He's got the moves. I like it.
Hold on, mate. That's a bit unfair. Because when I dance like that...
You don't have the moves. No.
Oh, come
You do not
on.
dance like that.
Oh, come on.
You do this weird, like, pointy thing, and you do this kind of like you're convulsing. Like you're kind of, I don't know, that you've kind of been infected by some kind of parasite worm that's taken over your body and is just jolting. That's what you do. You've got a parasitic worm.
Carry on then, rest of the birthday.
Anyway, so very happy birthday to you, Amir. He's fantastic, and we will hopefully be joined by him very soon. But lots of people have also had their birthdays too. We'd like to wish Florence a very happy 10th birthday today. Her and her dad, Tony, have been inspired to try and build a pond in their back garden, which is fantastic.
It's great.
Yeah, have fun building a pond. Hopefully you get lots of wildlife in there soon. So very happy birthday to you, Florence. We've got Susan in Lincolnshire, is 55. We've got Debbie Hall from Fort William in Scotland, will be 45 as well. We've got Judy Thomas, who's on the 21st, has her birthday, hasn't missed a single episode of SIBC. Again, lots of people haven't missed an episode. That's quite an amazing achievement. Lots of people, I've had messages recently, lots of people finding SIBC and going, yeah, I've got a lot to catch up on. And certainly do lots of different episodes. We've got Lucas Compton, who's 16 today, has been really a big fan of SIBC and has learned a lot watching the shows. Thank you so much, Lucas. Very happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Lucas.
We've got Julie, whose partner, Steve, is whose birthday is in the 21st of February. So very happy birthday to you, Steve. Next week, we've got Sandra's birthday on the 20th of February, and her husband, Dave, is on the 24th. Their 11-year-old son, Joseph, is a very keen bird watcher and enjoys the pant rubbing from you, the trouser rubbing.
Need to see something special. I can't just...
You can't just do that.
I mean, you can't just rub your trousers like if you haven't seen a male bullfinch. Right.
Well, we'll leave you and Joseph to the trouser rubbing. But very happy birthday to both Sandra and Dave. On the 23rd, we also got Jules Grant's birthday and Kim Kerry, who will be 62. On the 23rd, we've got Carol Wilkinson, who will be 64. She is one of our biggest fans, apparently. And that is from twins Nathan and Sarah. So very happy birthday to you, Carol. Debbie wrote in for her friend Lisa Johnstone Pratt, whose birthday is on the 26th of February. So lots of good birthdays there. Hope you're having a fantastic day, enjoying as much as you can lockdown birthdays. I hope you're enjoying the birthdays as much as Chris is enjoying those lentil chips that he's been munching away on.
Happy birthday, everyone.
He's pretty much emptied the bowl.
No, come on. Normally I have two small dogs helping me get through them.
You have me helping you here.
Okay, all right. Well, you can have a few now whilst
thank you.
I wrap up, because we're coming towards the end. So what have we got coming up? Next week, we've got Paul Goldstein.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Goldstein's joined us before. During lockdown, he made a film about his pond in South London. You might remember that. But he's also a fantastic wildlife photographer, very well travelled, of course, taking pictures of animals all over the world. His photos are superb. There's absolutely no doubt about that. So he's going to be joining us next week live.
Yes.
From Kenya.
Yeah, where he's got in Kenya with his family at the moment.
Yeah, he's kind of stuck in Kenya.
2 young boys and his partner. And so we're going to live to Kenya, which will be really exciting. And we're also going to be joined by Green-fingered George. If you remember George, he's a fantastic young naturalist who is so keen on his gardening and doing everything. I could use a few tips from George, actually, because I like my animals, but I'm really rubbish at keeping plants alive, as I found out with my new house plants. So I might have to ask his advice on that one. Yeah. But we should reveal the quiz.
Do you know, I could leap in front of George, if you like, and just give you a little bit of advice.
Go on.
Water. Just water. I don't need to say anything more.
Water them.
one of the fundamental requirements for all life on Earth, including houseplants, is water. Right, should we do the
I don't like your tone, young man. Right, lots of people got the quiz right. You thought that was going to be a hard one, but I have to say, people got it. So are you ready for this list? We've got Shaz, we've got Simon, Mandy, we've got Keeper of Keys, we've got Fiona, Harry Dance, Lucy, Little Owl, Alicia, Wildlife Rufus, Ben, Sandra, Dryoctopus, Deborah, Fezgod, Trevor, Peter, Tony, Terry, Daisy, Tina, Kate, Nigel, Dave, Susan, and Elaine.
Here it is. Yeah. It's beautiful. The soft breast feather of the one and only woodcock.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Look at that. What a bird. You can see there. You see those little barring marks on the breast of that bird corresponding with those bars on the feather. And I saw this on the woodland floor and I knew a woodcock had been there at some point during the night. They're a nocturnal species and they use that long bill for probing into the soil for invertebrates, certainly lots of earthworms, and it's very sadly they're quite significantly declined in the UK, the woodcock. We are joined by lots more woodcock from continental Europe during the winter. They swell the numbers, come over from places like Poland, Germany, Russia, so on and so forth. But our own resident woodcock population is very much in decline for a number of reasons. One of the most astonishing of which is that they still shoot them. So a species that's, I think it's amber listed, it might be red listed, I can't remember now, but it's in significant decline, is still legal quarry. And in many places, the shooting fraternity have done the decent thing. And they've said, no, we're not shooting them. And anyone who does shoot them is going to be banned from our shoot. And they're really doing, a good job of conserving the bird. But there are still people who go out, believe it or not, and deliberately shoot woodcock. Barking, absolutely barking. That, a lot of people working very hard to conserve species. Other people go out and shoot them. It, thankfully, it's an increasing, it's an increasing or decreasing minority. I think a lot of responsible shooters now, and certainly a lot that I speak to, they don't shoot woodcock anymore. But there are still people who brag about it in some of the shooting magazines, which is just astonishing. Anyway, there we are. So like a little bit of a late soapbox, that one. So there we are, woodcock feather. Yeah. In fact, I've got some woodcock wing feathers as well. Oh, I thought they'd be too easy. So I left those in another Ziploc bag upstairs, remember?
For another day. Damn. Anyway, I think that's pretty much all we've got time for. But tonight at 8 p.m, Chris's new series starts.
Oh, yes.
I'm excited about this. I've heard so much about it. I haven't seen it.
No.
I'm really excited to watch it because it's really cool.
So it's BBC Two. It's 8 o'clock. I'll give myself a plug now.
Yeah, go on.
BBC Two, 8 o'clock. It's called Animal Einsteins. And clearly Einstein was famed for being a human genius, a man of great intelligence. And I made a film about Einstein once, actually. Read a couple of books about him. Well, three books.
Did you try on his jacket or something?
I smelled his jacket.
You did? You smelled his jacket?
Wasn't allowed to put it on. When he moved to America, he wanted to embrace American culture. He was a Jewish immigrant into the United States. And he loved America before he got there. And he really, liked the idea of the American dream. And so when he got there, he wanted to embrace the culture. So he went out and he bought himself a leather Levi's jacket. And he wore it for the rest of his life. And he was
famous, isn't it? It's all the photo of him sticking his tongue out. Isn't he wearing it?
Yeah, he could be. But he would wear it indoors. He wasn't famed for his sartorial elegance, Einstein. He was famed for his great mind. But however, he had the jacket and he wore it all of his life. And it was a big part of him. It was a sort of, trademark, if you like, of Einstein. And he smoked his pipe. He was always smoking a pipe. And anyway, it went to auction a few years ago and Levi's bought it back. So when we were making our film about him, they got it out for us. And they put it on one of those sort of, I don't know, called mannequins, like a mannequin.
Mannequin, not quin.
No, it's mannequin.
No, mannequin.
No, mannequin is a bird.
No, it's a mannequin. It's
right, okay, we'll argue about this later. Anyway, they put it on this, representation of a human torso. And I wasn't allowed to touch it, but I went right up to it and I stuck my nose right up to the collar and I had a good whiff and I could smell Einstein.
What did he smell like?
He smelled like he shouldn't have been smoking his pipe.
Been dead for a while.
He was a bit sweaty and tobacco-y, to be honest with you. Anyway, look, we digress. That's Einstein, human Einstein. Our program tonight is about other animal species. that display intelligence, or they're smart, or they're clever, or they have extraordinary pieces of behaviour. And the researchers did a brilliant job of coming up with lots of new science. There were some really startling stories, actually, amazing stories, really amazing stories.
Yeah.
They're the sorts of things that you're going to see it and you're going to want to immediately ring up your mates. I would say go down the pub and tell them, but of course none of that's happening. But you can ring up your mates and say, did you see that thing about the cuttlefish?
I'm so excited to hear it, because you've told me some of the stories about the behaviour and the intelligence of certain animals.
Yeah, brilliant one tonight about dogs.
That's the one I was really excited to see.
Yeah.
It's tonight, is it?
See, we think our dogs are smart. And for a long time, the scientists have been saying, well, I'm sorry, not as smart as that you think they are. Well, maybe the time has changed.
Yeah. It's a bit like your Nature's Weirdest in a way, isn't it? That kind of the different stories of these different animals and their behaviours, but it's all about this.
Yeah, so each programme has about 6 or 8 stories in.
I'm excited to watch it.
With the scientists. And we couldn't travel to make it, of course, so we made it in lockdown. So during the sort of gap between the lockdown, under strict COVID protocols, we had to use an Airbnb, which we couldn't stay in because of COVID and everything. The plan was initially for us to travel around and see all the tests that were being done and to meet the scientists, but we couldn't do that. So they had to film themselves.
Yeah.
But it's, and actually it's turned out brilliantly, really, really good. We've got also a lot of their original footage, got some great footage that was shot specifically. We did have cameramen, local people around the world, going out and filming stuff for us as well. So logistically, it was hard to make.
Yeah.
But anyway, I hope you enjoy it. 8 o'clock. I can't pick it up any more than that, can I?
Yeah, you picked it up quite a lot.
Yeah.
Good. I think we should leave everyone with some hummingbirds.
Look, the scares go back. Has that female been in or not?
Let's have a little look.
Come on. Where's the Allen's hummingbird nest?
Oh, they look quite.
Well,
sweet.
one of them's moved around because they were both their beaks were pointing in the same
Sat on
direction.
top of the other one. Oh.
They're in that nest for quite some time, you know. They're in there for about 3 weeks.
Yeah, quite a while. Well, is it quite a while? I'd kind of, 3 weeks is a reasonable amount of time.
God.
Anyway,
It's
beautiful
not gonna happen,
thing.
is it?
But keep an eye. You can obviously watch this live cam yourself as well. So make sure to keep an eye on that. And you'll see the adult coming in.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we should wrap it up because we've been rambling on enough
rambling.
now.
15 minutes we've been.
Dear oh dear, extra 15 minutes. Sorry, everyone.
Okay.
We will see you next week at 6 p.m.
Animal Einstein's 8 o'clock, BBC 2.
Bye, everyone.
Dogs weeing in the snow, and it's fantastic. Bye.